The horror of my actions has left me in a state of shock, my mind recoiling as red rivulets mix with the water, spiraling down the sink. An eerie silence fills the room, broken only by my trembling breathing. Tears course down my cheeks, and I beg silently for my mother's forgiveness. The mirror reflects a terrifying image of my blood-stained face, and in my eyes, I see a stranger. I see a murderer. Growing up, it had been just Mom and me in Ruby Harbor, the bustling capital of VasDahiv. Dad was a miner, often dispatched on long missions to Alma's city's Mount Gough. Seasons would pass without a trace of him, only to return with dust-laden clothes and a weary smile. That particular summer, Dad invited us to spend a week with him in Alma's city, a prospect that filled me with joy. However, Mom was reluctant. She was a homebody, preferring the company of her plants over that of people, particularly Sarah, her prized plant, named and cared like a cherished child. Mom would spend hours tending to Sarah, even whispering soft words to the plant as if it were alive. One afternoon, while Mom was engrossed in her garden, I made my plea, a desperate attempt to convince her to visit Dad. My pleas were met with resolute refusals. Tears welled in my eyes, and in a fit of anger, I turned on her beloved plants. I ripped leaves and snapped branches, but then a sound froze me in my tracks, a whimper, similar to a kitten's cry or a baby's. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized it came from Sarah. Mom, upon seeing my reckless destruction, slapped me. Her anger, sharper than any words, sent me fleeing to my room, the plant's cries echoing in my ears. A week passed with no conversation between us. I felt abandoned, neglected, and afraid. I spent countless nights alone, crying myself to sleep, haunted by the strange cries from the garden. In the stillness of the night, I could hear Mom humming lullabies to her plants. And that was when the bitter realization hit me. Her love for the plants surpassed her love for me. As I grew older, I finally understood why Dad seldom spent time at home. He too couldn't endure Mom's eccentric obsession with her plants. She always prioritized them over us. Looking back, the signs were always there. At the age of 14, desperate to escape the atmosphere of our home, I implored my father to send me to a boarding school. Recognizing that any environment was healthier than the one at home, he agreed, even though he could only afford a public institution. From then on, my only obligation was to return home during summer vacations. Each year, I found my mother increasingly secluded and strange. It felt like the world, even our close neighbors, had slowly forgotten about her, and yet she seemed unperturbed by it. The house, once vibrant, had turned into a greenhouse with the number of plants growing exponentially. Still, Sarah, larger now, held her favorite spot. When I turned 18, fortune shone upon me. I was accepted into Marmara University, the most prestigious institution in VasDahiv. However, the same year brought me a devastating loss, my father's death. With that, the only tether linking me and my mother snapped. I visited Mom only during the holidays, and her indifference was palpable. A week ago, I received news of my mother's death, a result of natural causes. The old house, our shared history, was now mine. I had no intention of clinging onto it. My plan was to sell the house and move to a downtown apartment. There was paperwork to handle, and so, reluctantly, I found myself spending a few nights in the echoes of my childhood home. The atmosphere in the house was stagnant, the only change being a thick layer of dust that coated the once familiar surroundings. On my second night back, I heard it, the chillingly familiar cry that echoed from my childhood. It was undeniably real, and it sent shivers down my spine. Tracing the cry to its origin, I found myself standing in the garden, face to face with Sarah, the plant now more colossal than I ever remembered. Its cries seemed to reverberate through the silent night air. Was it weeping for my mother, or begging for water? You might question how I could remain unfazed by a plant's cry, but it had been a haunting part of my past. In my heart, it was this plant, Sarah, that had stolen my childhood. A conveniently located axe provided the outlet for my pent-up fury. As I raised the axe, the eerie cries from Sarah grew louder, as if it sensed the impending threat. With each forceful swing, I sliced through the thick plant skin, until to my shock, blood spurted from the cuts. Was it my blood or the plant's? The plant's screams began to fade as its life ebbed away. In the destruction, a horrifying discovery awaited me. In the broken plant pot was a skeleton, eerily entangled within Sarah's roots. The roots appeared to grow directly from the small bones. Paralyzed with fear, I stood there, the gruesome sight seared into my memory. The reality of the horrifying situation finally struck me. Haunted by the grim revelation, I knew I had to seek out the answers that I knew were concealed somewhere within the walls of this house. With my hands still stained with the plant's blood, I began my frantic search. I searched each room, each closet, leaving no corner unexplored. Among the dust and forgotten memories tucked away behind a pile of my mother's belongings, I found an old weathered box. A box that bore the name Sarah. The sight of it made my heart drop. Inside, nestled among a few worn-out baby toys, was a birth certificate. It belonged to a girl named Sarah, who, according to the date on the document, was 2 years older than me. Sarah, my sister, a sibling I never knew I had. No more documents, no letters, no pictures. Just this piece of paper and a handful of baby toys were all that remained of her. As I sat there, questions whirled in my mind, but there was no one left to answer my questions. My mother's secrets had died with her. Hope you all enjoyed tonight's tale from the world of VasDahiv. There's a whole universe to explore in my upcoming novel, VasDahiv Twisted Tales. Get ready to follow Arta into realms you can't even imagine. I'm Vandad, the first Iranian virtual influencer and your guide to all the wonders and mysteries of VasDahiv. Good night, adventurers. See you on the other side.